This is called 5 Steps to Becoming the Best Wife. Okay, that's what we're going to be covering today. It is a knockout. We're going to be starting off with a story that's kind of icky. So please forgive me in advance for icky story, but I just feel like everybody has to sort of, know how they get out of situations, okay? Like when when the show doesn't start and you can't get anything plugged in. Okay, how do you not be like crazy? Okay, and so I'm going to start with a story. And I had a student in the last couple of weeks Francine, who has just had it in her marriage. Like she's just done. She's tried everything. Her husband loses it at her. He loses his temper at her a lot, and he also, he throws things. She said not at her, but it's still scary. It's kind of like this stuff is throwing. I said, is it dangerous throwing? She goes, not really, but it's throwing. So, and he loses his temper at her. So I asked her, tell me one incident. What set your husband off? So she told me that the Sunday before, she had a hair appointment, which she had to make on the weekday because they're having big financial difficulties, which is a stressor in and of itself. And so he had to babysit the kids while she went off and had her hair done. Fine, nothing wrong with that. Fine. So she goes off and he said, listen, I have a call at 2:00, a very important business call at 2:00. So be back at 2. She said, I'm sure I'll be back at 2. It's 12:30 now. It's about 45 minutes. Fine. She shows up at 2:15. So he was livid because, first of all, she didn't text him or tell him anything of what she was doing or why she was doing it. She just shows up, and she showed up with groceries, which meant she could have made it at 2:00, but she didn't come at 2:00 like she said, and she stopped off for groceries. So she walked in the door carrying a few groceries, and he just let her have it. He just yelled at her, and he screamed. And she said, we don't have milk for tomorrow morning. He said, you could have come home and gone out later for milk. Well, then who would have watched the kids? He said, we would have dealt with it, but you would have done what you said you did. So he started screaming, and it just escalated, worse, pretty badly. And she ended up saying, well, we needed milk, and she put it down or whatever. And he took it, and he poured the milk out in the sink, and then he left. Yikes. It's very sad. So the question is, and the question we want to cover today, so 5 steps to becoming the best wife. Like, hey, wait a minute, Leah, you are telling me like a story of very sad proportions. What could she have done? Now, she did a lot of things wrong. He did a lot of things wrong. Obviously, we see there is a big dysfunction here. So what we want to discover is what we can do when we have, basically we're bringing out the worst in each other, or hopefully not we're there, right? Let's say, no, whatever. Sometimes you bring out the worst in each other and it escalates and escalates. Now, she has been married to him around 15 years, and she knew. Francine knows this man better than any person that ever walked the face of the earth. She knows this man. She knew. It was very, very predictable that when she walked in the door, that was what's going to be the outcome. The fact that she was upset and mad at how he behaved if she had come to any person sitting there and said, hey, what would you say if I, did this, and then I was going to show up, and then I went to the grocery store and didn't call my husband, and I promised him I'd be back at 2. What do you think the reaction would be? 99.9% of the women would be able to accurately predict. A 2-year-old could accurately predict that would be the outcome. So what was missing between Francine's actions, her thinking, and her actions? We're not, for him, maybe he eggs her on, and maybe these types of incidents have happened unprovoked so many times that she's lost motivation to care because he was yelling at her even before she was behaving badly, and now she behaved badly and he behaved that way. So I'm not saying he's not responsible, he's not culpable, he's not he doesn't have he himself, this is very heavy, I hope this is okay, whatever, that he isn't the one who that he has responsibility for his actions as well. I get it. It's true. And maybe he's 10 times worse. We'd have to be God himself to picture every little thought and action that they did for the last 15 years. I get that. But let's just take a look. Oh, we cannot change him. We cannot change our husbands. If you figure out how, please send me an email and tell me, and I'd love to share it with our audience, okay? But the changing of ourselves, that we can do, and that we have a lot of power and control over. So how do we do that? What could she have done? How can she get motivated? Because whatever, she's frustrated and she's mad and she's upset, and this is, believe me, this is not the first time this kind of thing has happened in this marriage, okay? It's not the first time. So she has a lot of baggage that she's carrying, and maybe she did it sort of subliminally. She didn't think ahead because she's mad at him, and this is her way of getting back at him. We don't know. But what we do want to figure out, what we want to learn, how to be in this kind of a situation and how to get out of it and how to grow and to be the best wife we can given whatever circumstances we're facing. Fair enough? Okay. Any questions, type them in below. Sarit, so they're happy, whatever. She'll okay, type them in. Okay. Okay. Now, here's the question. What can be done, first of all, to heal the open wounds? And secondly, what is the best plan from our Masorah, from our traditions? We can look inside our sources. What is the best plan to build a relationship when you have habits? Is someone has to, you hit star 6 or something?
Yeah, we're gonna fix the whole.
Okay, hold on. Put star 6. Okay, that's fine. The teleconference people. Thank you for being here, teleconference people.
We love you.
But we love you, but we don't want to hear your babies crying at the moment. Maybe a little bit later we'll hear the babies. Actually, that would have been a good cue when I told that icky story for the baby
right,
cry.
The
So
just a little
right. Yeah, the timing wasn't good. Right. I told you we're having technical difficulties. Okay. So the question is, what is the best plan to build the relationship, given the terrible habits that many marriages have of tearing each other down? This is not, even if it's not as drastic or whatever, maybe it's more drastic. I've heard stories, I've talked to a lot of women over the years, but whatever it is, how do we make it better? How do we heal it? Obviously, therapy is going to be our number one go-to thing, and people who go to therapy, it didn't work for me. Well, you've got to sometimes try to. When you dated, did you date? Well, maybe some people did. Marry right away? No, you dated a bunch of people till you find the person. It's similar to therapy. It takes a while to get somebody who's going to click with you, so you just have to give it an honest try. But therapy would be a good first move. The other is there is so much a wife can do to improve the situation. She knows this guy. She knows what makes him tick. Anybody would know that guy would be upset in that situation, what Francine did. So the question is, how do we break the cycle? Okay, so we're going to go into our sources, and Mesillas Yesharim talks a great deal about introspection. So what we mean by introspection is to actually take a look at what happened before an event, what's going to happen, to introspect while the action is happening, and then after to look back on it and see what we did, what actions we took. So, like sometimes you're driving and I said that a little too meanly. And then you could also say, oh, no, I didn't. And you can talk to, we talk to ourselves. Does anyone else talk to themselves? No, other people. Okay, so, we're like, maybe I was too harsh there, or usually we're thinking they were too harsh. We're not thinking about what we did, what actions we did. We're thinking about what actions that were done to us and how, chip on our shoulders about actions done to us. I know this from personal experience, okay? So, but what this is about is introspection in our own brain. What behaviors did I do that I could do better next time? You don't have to beat yourself up, but what can I do better next time? While you're in a situation that's the hardest, by the way, BT dubs. Hardest. While it's happening and your emotions are flying all over the place and you're interacting with a person, that's the hardest time to introspect. So you're excused if you're not an expert at that. Few people are. But looking ahead at how things are going to be and looking back, thinking about, yesterday when I was talking to my friend, when we left, she said, all right, bye. She didn't give me that. Oh, love you. See you later. What did I say? You know what? Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that outfit. Maybe it was she liked the new outfit, and I told her that it wasn't as flattering. Maybe that was a mistake. but maybe women like to hear and want to hear that from you rather than hearing, this, you got the spinach between your teeth and no one tells you get home, you're like, right? Okay. So you want a friend to tell you, but if the friend afterwards, if she's introspecting, you say, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So then all you do is send a text. And by the way, you looked gorgeous yesterday. I feel badly about the comment about your dress, but I would want you to tell me or something. Maybe a text isn't good. Maybe that's like one of these. Anyone talk on the phone anymore? But anyway, if you talk on the phone and talk in real time, to tell them that or apologize, go back and fix things. This is called introspection. So the power behind introspection, and this is where it gets so gorgeous, is that when you introspect, and it's not easy work, it's hard, and and it's I don't want to think about it, just live my life. Why do I have to always think? We are told, this is the Vilna Gaon, that the reason Hashem created us in the first place is to work on ourselves, to grow the best people we can be. How do you do that? One way. Mesilas Yesharim tells how. Introspection. So if you are an overly analytical person, let's say you're a bookkeeper or you're an accountant or you're a coder, right? You're one of these people who really has it down and you're really good in detail, turn that inward. For people who are, all over the place, creative types, and they've got paint all over their hands and arms and legs and walls and building, whatever, for creative types or different types of people, and you're not good in introspection, start with little pieces of introspection. Think about think about this morning when you had your interactions with your husband. Were you a little harsh? Were you a little soft? Were you a little kind? Were you tense because of the conversation you had yesterday, or you're arguing about where a kid should go to camp, or is it camp time?
Yeah,
hello. Don't even go there. This was stress.
Oh my God,
stress.
Do not stress me.
Do not stress you. Okay, right, fine. So you're thinking about how were you this morning? How were you? How did you behave? When you were getting your latte, or when you were getting, you were at your grocery store, whatever you were doing this morning, think about that. Who were you in the moment? Were you nice to people? Were you mean to people? That's called introspection. And that is an extremely, extremely powerful tool. This is what we're going to work on. I'm going to bring you through some tools. So because this is such a heavy topic, and we're going to get back to Francine because I don't want to leave that dangling and how she could have handled and what she could have done. Okay? It's such a heavy topic that I made the tool of the day, which I'm about to tell you, I made it very cute sounding and very cute, easy to remember. Okay, ready? Hold on. Okay, so the tool of becoming the best wife possible is to go sailing. So there's 5 steps, 5 things that sailors do, and we're going to go through each one of them so you can learn this is how to be the best wife ever. Okay, ready? Okay. It's so weird without a live audience. I love you guys very much. It's really wonderful, but, it's usually everyone's like, yeah, Leah, or a lot of nodding heads.
Our Facebook people are saying, yay, yay.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay. Let's have a thumbs ups or something
it's
like
all
that, likes, and
let
fine.
us know.
Okay, let us know. And do any questions coming in or anything?
Not yet.
Okay, come on, ladies, with the questions. We love the questions. Okay, very good. Okay, so number 1, a sailor. You're being a sailor. Number 1, get in dress uniform. So what does that mean? Right? You got to put your outfit on. That means to show up. That means to go to classes. It means to go to lectures. It means to get to read books, to talk to people, to engage. Learn how to be the best you can be. So in Francine's case, that would be get a book on anger management so she can manage it herself and she can manage her husband. Because she's known him for 15 years. She knows she shows up at 2:15 with groceries. Not going to be pretty. There's some kind of subliminal thing, or maybe it was what's the opposite of subliminal? Intentional. But I guess intentional.
Right.
Maybe that was intentional. Maybe she was trying to jab him.
Right.
So maybe it's retribution. Maybe it's well deserved. Maybe he deserves for her. He never shows up when he says it's going to be. How do you like it, guy? Right? I get it. Is that the best her that she wants to be? That's how she wants to go down in history, as being somebody who's vindictive? Probably not, although I didn't ask her. Maybe I should see whether that's really how she wants to go down in history. How do you want to be? So introspection and knowing him, we have to understand she needs to understand what is causing her to take out her aggressions on him, and a book on anger, and a book on how to deal with toxic people. Maybe it's him, and how to deal with toxic people. You know, if you have somebody who's toxic in your life, you can sit there and point your finger all day long, but there is stuff that can be done. There's lessons in these types of books that say, if you know somebody's treating you like this, a good thing to do is just, you know, who told me the other day, if someone says something, whatever, you just, charming and sweet, like they say, you know, they say something insulting to you, and you answer back, and you say, well, that's one person's opinion. You know, if someone says something mean to you, there are strategies that can help ratchet down rather than ratchet up. The deep thing behind that is having the will to do that. Meaning, if your actions, and this is, again, from Mesilas Yesharim, chapter 3 and 4, talks about how this is the paths of the just, gorgeous, deep work. If you ever want to pick up something, and you know, you might only have it on your nightstand and read a page at a time, but in chapter 3 and 4, it talks about before you take action, zrizas, you're thinking, the hieros, which is what we're talking about, introspection. So you have to have the will. You have to train your heart to want that. So before Francine walked in that door, right, there was no will to please him. There was no will at reconciliation. There was no will for bonding and closeness. There was anger. She needs to learn how to deal with that. And so the first step is get dress uniform, to get books, to get, don't leave it to chance, be proactive, show up to classes, show up to reading, show up to meeting with people, to therapy, be proactive, make this a priority in your life, number one. Okay. Number 2, this is something sailors do. Clear the decks, right? That's what they're doing. They're clearing the decks. So here's what this looks like. Clearing the decks means getting everything out of your mind and life that is in the way from you taking care of your relationship with your husband. So we've talked about many times that there are many, many sources that say we spend eternity with our husband. There's no sources that say we spend them with our children. Okay, there's some Kabbalistic things that are part of the same soul. That's way above my pay scale. For us, we know we were born an Ezer Kenegdo, a helpmate opposite him. That was how we were born. Our job in life is to bond as deeply as we can through our husband. We have many jobs, many acts of kindness. They're single people. This gets into very heavy duty stuff, but they're single people. What's their point? You know, as Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky told me directly, their job is to have shalom, peace with everybody they meet, or as many people, or the people they're close to. Let me say it correctly. Their job is to be close to is to work on peace with their loved ones. So the purpose of when you're married, it's to have Shalom Bayis, to have peace in your home. You have many, many priorities, but if that's your number one priority, if that was Francine's number one priority, you imagine how different it would have looked? It would have been a whole different show. So if you make that a priority in your life, that's clearing the decks, getting everything else out of the way. And what that means for you ladies who are unbelievable, cooking for the neighbor down the street who's sick, making extra challahs on Shabbos to give to people who live alone, or seniors, or whatever. All these wonderful acts of kindness, fantastic. You should be very well lauded for those. That's if you have enough energy and time that you're putting into your husband, and you have time for that, wonderful. It's a lot easier. I say to people, people tell me, oh, it's so hard, and the relationship. It's much easier to tidy a closet than to tidy our marriage, right? You can go there. It's very satisfying. You get a closet, and first of all, getting to the closet, okay? I get preoccupied. What's that called? Procrastination, right? Procrastination. Okay, so I get that. But once you're actually doing it, it feels really good and whatever. And then you want to just leave all the closet doors open with the new interiors showing, because it's so satisfying. Whereas in a relationship, it's messy and complicated, and he did this and he did that, and you can't forgive him for this thing, and there's a lot flying, right? So much easier to tidy a closet. It's not your life's work. It's not your life's work. Our life's work is to tidy our marriage. So in Francine's case, her clearing the deck would be making it a priority. And if the kids have to eat cereal without milk or with hot water, or I always keep almond milk or soy milk or rice milk, something in the cupboard. So if you run out of milk, whatever. That's kind of off topic, but I'm just saying there are ways to solve things without taking it out on your husband. Okay, so that was clear the decks. The next one, number 3, is marching orders. So, right, this is what sailors do. They take marching orders. So the marching orders, it goes like this. And this is a wink, wink to what the homework's going to be, which is getting yourself a journal. If you are having challenging time introspecting and figuring it out, if Francine had a journal and she sat there and she, said, I'm really upset today because my husband showed up late and he never called me. What I'm going to do about that, I'm going to wait till it happens 2 or 3 more times. Then I'm going to sit him down and ask him, listen, this is an issue. Do you mind making this a priority? Or she may not have good communication with it, so she has to work on that. We're going to do a lot of communication in here. But she may not be able to communicate it well. Maybe she writes him a letter or something. But if she uses introspection and uses that time in journaling to figure out how she's going to handle this, that is a very powerful way to plan how to move forward. Journaling works for some people, doesn't work for other people. How about sitting down and having a friend who is a positive? You have to pick your friends well, because it's got to be somebody who has a ability, who's not going to say, oh, I can't believe your husband did that and whatever. It's got to be somebody who's really positive sense of thing and how important bonding is with your husband. They're going to say, oh, I understand that might have felt bad, but you know what? If you can see it from his side, X, Y, Z. So you pick a friend. That helps you to introspect. It helps you to move forward. Next thing is, in marching orders, is cut yourself a lot of slack. I had this conversation with Francine about 2 weeks ago, and then the next week she called me really miserable with herself because she did it again, as she said. She provoked him and made him, when he lost it, he started it. He lost it, she reacted horribly. So we discussed and introspected on ways for her to move forward. A week passed. He lost it. He instigated, and she lost it again. And she called me up, practically in tears, beating herself up that how could she do that? As if a person can turn on a dime. You can't turn a car on a dime. The only thing, maybe a unicycle you could turn on a dime. It's about the only thing you can turn on, like that. Everything else takes time, it takes effort, it takes work, it takes practice. So this is very, very crucial to growing ourselves and becoming the best wife we want to be. Give ourselves a lot of space. Don't beat yourself up every time you make a mistake. In fact, that's the next one. Okay. So give yourself a lot of space. The next one is number 4, is sending out an SOS, right? That's what sailors do. They send out an SOS. And this is the one where you pre-arrange with your spouse. You tell your husband, I suddenly realized that every time you do behaviors that aren't ideal, or in my opinion, aren't terrific, I realize I get instantly, I kick you in the teeth. I feel horrible about it. I never realized it, but now I realize it. So I want to make a what do you call it? Commitment?
Yeah.
It's too hard. I want to improve. This is good. I want to improve my behavior. That's a better way to say it, because I want to improve my behavior. I've been doing it this way for 15 years, buddy. Please, I'm asking you right now. Cut me a lot of slack. I'm going to be working on it. I'm telling you in my heart. Otherwise I say, you're a liar. You told me you're working on it. No, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm probably going to make 10 mistakes and one time get it right. But for that one time, praise me for that if you can. If you can't, I'd understand. I'm going to work on doing it 1 time out of 10, and then 2 times out of 10, and then 3 times, and maybe in a year I'll get it down to a much better extent. Know that my heart's in the right place, that I love you, that I'm trying, that I'm working on it. But please don't make this hard for me. So you send out an SOS to your husband and let him know what you're working on and to cut you a lot of slack. if he's like 90% of the men, he'll be like, okay. And then he'll probably jump on you right when it happens. You say, wait a minute, don't forget, don't you remember that conversation we had where you're going to cut me a lot of slack? And he'll go, all right. I'm only a human guy. I'm trying my best. Okay. Clear? Any questions on that?
Well, I think that part is, and we have someone who's saying that's the issue with that is that so many times husbands, when they hear that you're trying to fix something or work on something, or they'll sort of point it out to you
even more.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, oh, well, I thought you were going to work on this, or aren't you supposed to be working on this, or you know.
Excellent point. Thank you for that question. So the answer to that is in this prearranged conversation when you're sending out your SOS, say, now listen, if I'm growing this and every time I stumble, right, somebody a baby is learning to walk, you don't hit them when they fall. You know, they walk and then they fall. The falling itself is painful. They learn slowly to be better at it, you know. So as I'm growing in this, I give you permission to understand all this. I don't give you a free rein to comment on this unless I bring it up. Please. You know, I need to grow this in my own space. Know that I'm working on it. Know that right when I make the mistake, I probably in the moment realize I'm making the mistake. Give me a lot of space. I hopefully will be big enough as I grow in this to apologize quickly for something, but I may not. So give me a lot of space. Please don't comment in it. Please don't guide me. Please don't, you know, try and be my police. You know, I have a lot of women who they say, oh yeah, I'm my husband's alarm clock to get to shul. I'm like, nah. No, we're not each other's police. Oh yeah, my husband reminds me, oh, don't go in the fridge, you're trying to lose weight. No. A capital no. I need a big sign that says no, you're not each other's police. Bad move, mistake. Now, I know people who it works for. I know somebody who, you know, her husband gets her on the exercise and gets her there and makes sure it happens, and he's her police on the exercise, and it works for them. So on rare occasions, I think that's okay. For the most part, that's why you have phones and alarm bells and, you know, timers and planners, and day timers or whatever. These dingers and all this stuff should be electronically done without you each having to nag each other, because you have a limited, ladies, we have to know this, we have a limited amount we can nag our husbands, okay? And anything that can be delegated to electronic devices for nagging, have that happen. On things where they need, like, don't forget when we go to so-and-so's house, you know, to be nicer to the son because he's going through a hard time. You know, things like that. That's helpful, but it's also nagging. But, you know, there's no app for that. Okay? So for this, you really want to get all of the nagging out from your marriage. And that answered the question. Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay, so last one is to set sail. Right? I did this all with the sailing because I just wanted it to be a lighter, airier thing and easier to remember. Okay, so the setting sail is the trial and error phase. So, for instance, Francine in her trial and error. So now she's trying to be a little bit more thoughtful. That was the one thing that when Francine, I had her think about what if she had to, you know, when she's doing I forgot to mention, when you're doing your journaling, you want to write down habits you'd like to get better at. So this is back in the marching orders. Habits that you want to get better at. So, you know, you could write them down. You can say, I want to be more thoughtful to my husband. I want to grow myself to be less snappish. You know, every time he says one thing and I snap right back. I want to be able to zip my lip, exhale and say, okay, dear, or whatever. Be nicer in the moment. Whatever it is. There are habits that we all have. We know we have them. It might take journaling or thinking about it or discussing with a friend or a sister or something like that to be able to verbalize them and get them down. You write them down, get them in one location in your mind and on paper is always better. And then you choose one. So I had Francine do that exercise. And the answer she came up with is to be more thoughtful, because she felt like, you know, when I said, you know, you've known him for 15 years. Didn't you kind of know that that's how he would have reacted to your coming late with groceries? And she said, she went like this, and she's like, huh, it's true. I knew that. So her thing she was going to work on is thoughtfulness. So for setting sail, her thing is thoughtfulness. She told her husband, I'm going to work on being more thoughtful. She didn't say, I'm going to add what that lady's question was after. I'm going to let her know that she should tell her husband that he really shouldn't say anything to her, because that's really part of the package. It's a very, very good point that I overlooked. The other thing is, in setting sail, it's trial and error, but it's also not coming down on yourself. It's every time you fall, getting back up again. This is a tough road. It's a roller coaster of, I did 3 in a row that are great, crash. I did 2 in a row, crash. That it's a roller coaster ride. The point here is, don't give up on yourself. You will get it. And I'll tell you how I know this for an absolute fact. Because when you are working for Shalom, God himself will help you. Nothing happens in this world without God's blessing. And if you are working on Shalom and you're praying, please help me with this, you will have success in it. Okay, let me see if this...
So I have someone who's saying, the biggest part is, how do you control the emotions at the time that it's happening? Meaning, she's saying, normally I'm okay with being able to apologize, but what I find is that during the moment while something's happening, I may know that I'm doing it wrong. I have a hard time stopping myself.
Good question. We're going to a commercial break, right?
Yeah.
Joking.
We'll answer that next week.
Hello, right, no. Okay. In the moment, you're saying.
Yeah, in the moment.
Okay. So as we saw, introspection is about the past, introspection is about the future,
Right.
about what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So now, here's the good news. When you do introspection about the past and the future, going forward, you'll have less in the moment things, because you'll have thought about how to handle it, which is, let me tell you, that is like 90% of the battle, okay? So as you're doing this, it'll get easier. But for right now, and of course, as Francine handles her thoughtfulness issue, then she'll go on to the next item on her list, whatever that is. So, and then again, it'll be much harder in the moment. So let's discuss in the moment for a second. According to our sources, is that the emotion of anger takes us out of this world. Meaning, when you're when you're angry at at somebody and you're expressing your anger, that is the definition of insanity, because it's only destruction. So it says, I'm gonna hope I'm quoting this right. It's feeling angry isn't the problem. It's acting on anger. So feeling angry, you sometimes can't help. Someone does something, you say, oh yeah, leave my thing right there. I need it right there. And then they come and grab it. And you're like, wait a minute, what did you do with my thing? I told you, whatever. So, but it's now you're feeling like, what did you do with my cup? Right? But you're saying, is it possible to leave my cup here like I asked you for the 27th time? Whatever. Okay. So it's how you act that's what defines a master. So in the moment, very hard to control. Anger and other emotions also. You can be upset, you can feel betrayed, you can feel, there's a lot of emotions that go in a relationship. In the moment, it's a, there's different levels. So one level is just zipping. Mm-hmm. Another level is understanding, why am I getting so angry right now? Like, why? Is this because of what this person is doing, or because of all the past history of what they've done before, or because of what my mother did or father did when I was a kid and I wasn't raised right and they were mean to me and whatever, or because of this, my ex-husband did that, or whatever it is. There's a lot of stuff that comes into play that creates who we are and how we react to things. The better we can understand them and the more introspection we can do about those issues, the more mastery we have about behaving in the moment. It's hard work. So for this lady who asked the question, it's a very good question, and you say you're having a hard time with it. It might help you to, number one, this is always works, zip. Just zip. Just say nothing. Say nothing, because a lot of times 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds will pass, and that urge to clobber somebody or to act out of your emotion will be gone. Okay, that's hopefully. But in any case, zipping your lip there can never be any harm. And if your husband says something like, "What? I asked you a question. How come you saying, and then in a time when you're not in the heat of battle, there's planning and talking and discussing, and then there's in the heat of the battle. So when you're discussing it in a separate time, not in the heat of the battle, you say, listen, if I zip my lip and don't answer you, it's because I'm really, really working on myself to be more careful with my words so I don't say hurtful things and I don't do hurtful things. So how that's going to come across to you is I'm ignoring you. Forgive me in advance. I'm not ignoring you. I'm in my own head trying to be good to you. I'm really trying.
Right. I do that, except that I don't say that. I'll zip my lip and then he'll be like, what? Just say something. And I'm like, no, it's better for me not to talk. It's better for me not to talk. I don't think we should talk. We're better not talking. So I do it in a meaning like he knows I'm not coming from a place of, right now I need my time.
You're
in a place
using it as a torture.
No, it's in a place of you're wrong.
Right.
And I have a lot to tell you.
Right.
And don't get me started. So I'm being so good and virtuous and such an amazing wife, and I'm just going to be quiet while I tell you that, Do
you remember the story we told like a few months ago, maybe 5 months ago, whatever, about the lady with the paper towels and the rat? The rat ate through all the paper towels.
Yes.
And she's standing there. She's, and he comes and he goes, oh, he goes, look, she shows him what the rats got to the paper towels. They're all icky on the edges or whatever. And he said, oh, just unroll the icky part and let's use the other part. And she's like, oh. So she said at the time, we were doing a whole section on anger, and she said at the time, I wanted to scream, like, that's disgusting, you're disgusting. She said, all I did was I just put them down and walked away.
So walking away, maybe that's
Hold on. The husband, had a happy ending. Okay, this was the homework for that week a few months ago. She came back and they were gone. So he had obviously thrown them away.
And he said that's
or maybe he unwrapped them into the
That's the key you actually
she saw them in the garbage.
Don't
worry.
So walk away. Maybe that's it wasn't like a walk away without.
Right. So it could be just your languaging, your body language, and your tone is right. So, but just come up. Here's the gorgeous thing about introspection. You can plan what to say ahead of time. You know what the issue is going to be.
Right.
So just like Francine, she knew what her husband was going to do. Any husband would have done that. Maybe not poured the milk down the sink and yelled it and called her names.
Right.
But that was quite predictable, knowing your husband. So for you now you got a big advantage. You see. So let's plan. If you were to say something like, he's wrong and you're right, whatever, say, I love you. I need time to think.
Okay.
I think if
I practice that enough.
But if you put I love you.
I know my husband, and there's some people, and I think this is where I find it so hard. And I think I have even just from friends of mine that there's some men who love to avoid the altercation. So if their wife said, I love you, I need time to think, they would
disappear,
no
never
problem.
think about it.
They'd be so happy, like, oh my God,
I'm
thank
off the
God,
hook.
I'm off the hook. I don't have to deal with this. And my husband's the opposite. He wears his heart on his sleeve. So if he sees that I'm bothered, he'll keep coming and I'm like,
So have you ever talked to him on the discussion? There's discussions, right? And interactions, and then there's discussing. You're having, planning time kind of, right? So have you ever had a discussion with him to say, listen, sweetie pie, I love you so much. How do when I get to a place where I'm about to, I'm upset, or I need to think about it, or I'm about to explode. It could be, don't make him say, I'm always about to explode at you because you're so wrong. But, I'm either about to explode, or I need to think it through, or I'm more committed to being right than to hearing what you have to say. I'm not listening. I've shut my ears, and I can tell I've shut my ears, right? That's telling one on yourself, and it's also probably partly true, and maybe it is fully true. And, that's how I'm feeling. What can I do in times like that to have a timeout? Give me a suggestion. Do you want me to say, oh, I need 5. Give me 5. Does that feel insulting to you? Does it feel like I'm putting you off? Or do you want me to say, you know what, do you mind if I go? And then if you say no, then I'm stuck there. Then I feel like I'm going to say something bad. Why am I doing this? Why do I need the 5 to punish you? Absolutely not. I need the 5 because I need to process. That's just how I am. I'm a slow processor. Once I get something, I'm great with it, but I'm slow to process it. Unless you're not great with it.
No.
I know you well.
I'm just
That's what I can
quick
say.
to like. I'm quick in my feelings, so I need time to bring my emotions into check.
Right.
You know?
So if in planning time you were to say this to him, he's a good guy. He would get it, and he would say, "Oh, okay." So give me 5.
I never had a discussion about.
Yeah. So if you say, "Can you give me 5?" Give me 10. I really need 10 today. My head is swimming, and until I return that phone call to my boss, I have to, I've got to do this stressful thing. The kid's principal called. Let me call them back, and then I'll be able to give you my full whatever. This is too much for me at the moment. Something like that. You know your husband. Again, this is all try this at home. This is all trial and error. Everything is we're trying to make this happen by planning about it. But the more introspection you do about yourself, the better those types of conversations are going. And most importantly, you're making your will to be closeness to your husband. Closeness. That's what we're about. That's what we're trying to do. To be the best wife ever is to drive for that closeness and to work on it and think about it. And the novels and media and everything have done a terrible thing, which is to make it look easy. That has to be easy. If it's easy, if it's not easy, if it's work, come on. So it is work. Normal is work. And if you when you see relationships and they're like, oh yeah, we just get along great, we never fight, we never whatever, there's a level of closeness probably missing there. I don't know. This is the work of our life. This is what we're here for. Okay.
Yeah, I've someone who said, I know I do a lot to sabotage my marriage, but I can't find the strength to break out of that cycle.
Wow. I was just about to end the class, so now we're like, whoa, we got to start a whole new.
I think that's actually a lot. I found it even with a lot of people that didn't want to come. I had some women when we used to have a live audience that I tried to convince to come to be a part of the live audience, and they just said to me, I'm just tired. I'm tired. I just don't have the energy. So I literally said to them, but what's your other meaning? Like, if you're dying and someone tells you there's even a remote chance that this medicine might work, wouldn't you want to try it? Because the other choice is death. So if you're not going to do anything, you think you're going to get less tired, you're going to be more tired. Your marriage is just going to keep going downhill. But they don't have the strength. They said, I don't emotionally have the strength to do any more.
To try anymore for the what? Because they've probably been through therapy and through stuff like that. I mean, are these people who?
Yeah, no.
Or they've never done anything?
Some, one or two have been through therapy. And it's just, they feel as though,
it's too big a burden to work on it.
We're just like, things are not going to change. Certain personalities are not going to change.
They just resign for the rest of their life to be in that relationship.
Resign to, we'll just live together, and actually using your sailing thing will be like two ships that sail.
Two different ships.
that sail in the ocean, but we're not together.
Can you read me the lady's question again?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I answer it.
I know I do a lot to sabotage my marriage, but I can't find the strength to break out of that cycle.
Okay, so yeah, it's the same problem that those other ladies. So self-motivation is powerful. Motivation by external things making you have to do stuff is pretty tough. So for this woman who's doing stuff to sabotage her relationship, I think the most powerful motivator is success. If you have one taste, one little taste, you tried something and it worked. You were sitting there and she came in with the groceries and then she put them down and ran to her husband and said, I'm so sorry I blew it. I don't know what I was thinking about these groceries. I'm going to make you a fabulous dinner. I'm going to make it up to you. This is Francine. I'm talking from the, I realized that I'm sabotaging our marriage by not keeping my word with you, even though I'm mad about times you didn't get, whatever has happened, that I'm taking it out on you. I realize that now, and I want to work on it. I want to be better wife. I realize I haven't putting my whole self into it. I'm afraid of emotionally, of being vulnerable to you, whatever it is, you know, sharing her inner self, whatever's going on with her, and say, I really, really want to work harder to make you happy. And he says, sounds like you mean it. I mean, I'll you know, maybe he says something mean. Maybe he says, I'll believe it when I see it, lady, you know. But she said, you know, I'll show you. I'm going to try harder or whatever. And he says, okay. And then he said, do you need help with your groceries? Or I don't know what her sign would be of success, but they connected. That whatever friction was there dissipated.
And him not yelling would have been.
Him not
The
yelling,
fact that he said to her, you know, I'll see when I believe it, but then he goes and doesn't yell and doesn't spill the milk out or whatever else.
Right, yeah. So the thing is having one or two successes, you can have one success for probably 10 failures, and that goes with the territory. But having a success and then a little later another success and whatever, and showing your effort, the reason if you keep sabotaging, it's because you see no hope. If you saw hope and you tried different things, introspect, try this, try that, I mean, if you were trying to, let's say you wanted to get your kid into a specific school that was like you felt, you know, they had certain teachers that you felt were perfect for this kid, and they said, oh no, sorry, you can't get in. And you're like, then you'd write the letter to a principal. And then your sister-in-law, who knew somebody else, she knew somebody who was sitting on the board, who donated a lot of money to whatever, you know, or somebody who worked very hard for the school, who was on the PTA committee doing all the hard work for years, and you talk to her, and she says, oh, let me see the principal. He may not realize that this is perfect for your kid and that there really is no other place. You would leave no stone unturned. You wouldn't just kind of like, okay, they didn't let me in. No. You would do whatever humanly possible. You would figure it out. You would talk about it. You talk to friends. Well, do you have more strategies? Do you have other ideas? And you get you'd pack them all. You get all the ideas and you try one at a time, leaving no stone unturned. That's the same thing we want to do here. So if you're sabotaging, you want to figure out why. You want to journal. You want to go to a therapist. You don't have to have this 6 months of internal therapist sitting on a couch trying. Go there and say, listen, I'm sabotaging. Can you teach me? You need to know why. Okay, it's helpful to know why, but you don't even necessarily need to know why. What can I do to not sabotage? Oh, instead of coming in with the groceries, whatever, make it your meeting to call him every 10 minutes. What do you need now? I don't know, making up these things. But I'm just saying, leave no stone unturned. So for sabotaging, you need to figure out what you're doing, when you're doing it, introspect on that, and then self-motivation comes through having a few successes.
And how do you savor those successes so that you remember them?
Write them down in a journal. Keep them in the notes.
Because I feel when there's so many down times.
If you're doing 10 failures and one success, so
small.
pathetic. Right.
They feel like inconsequential, even though they're not, and they shouldn't be.
Chocolate. Okay. Reward your goof. Reward your body for doing these things that you're from a spiritual standpoint. You are putting your body to zip its lip. You're putting your body to, making your body to do things that don't sabotage. Reward your body. New pair of shoes, chocolate, whatever it is. Whatever it is for you that can reward yourself, whether it's just taking an hour off, saying, you know what, I have so much to do today, I've got to get this cooked and that person to call, then I need to whatever. I am taking from 2 to 3, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to, relax in the backyard, or I'm going to, whatever it is. If it's snowing, don't relax in the backyard, or maybe go build a snowman, whatever. Take care of your body. That you've got your body and your soul. Your body's going to listen to your soul if you reward it. So. Great questions. Okay, let's wrap up. The secret of the day is you have the power to become the best wife you can using introspection and determination. You can turn the ship around. Okay. Homework for the week: go out and buy yourself a nice pink journal. Okay, a pink journal, maybe purple, blue,
gold.
Whatever. Gold. Yeah, there you go. Gold. Okay. And write down all of the habits that you would like to improve in yourself. Would that have solved Francine's every problem in her life? No. Would it have improved the situation? Absolutely. So you're getting an introspection journal. Don't let anyone see it. This is just for your own personal use. And
today with all the people, maybe we can also say they could do it on their note.
Yeah, the note section of your
people live off their
phones. Yeah, right. So, that's perfect.
Right?
Yeah,
and then they're sitting in bed. They don't have to worry about pulling out
a pen.
But
how are they going to do it pink?
Yeah.
Come on, or gold, whatever. Okay, so
and
figure
I
that
just feel
out.
this way,
Yeah.
otherwise it becomes maybe too.
Another-
For the
okay.
people who are, what's it called? I like to write. I'm getting myself the notebook.
Right,
But
okay.
for
So
those who like-
right, okay. So either one of those, that's fine. But the issue is that you are writing down habits in yourself that you want to introspect and work on, and you're choosing one, not 50, not 20, not 3 things at once. You pick one thing to work on. That is the only way you are going to be able to track your own progress and know whether you're successful or not. If you pick 3 things, you're being all meritorious. I've got 3 things I'm working on. No, it's too much for a human brain to keep in mind. Choose one, work on it for 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever, and then you can move on to the other one if you want to, another one. But the basic thing is this introspection is these are the 5 steps for becoming the best wife, and introspection is where it all starts. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you next week.